Welcome again to Seer of the Times. This video, I'm going to share with you how my sister and I went up to Mount Sinai and the Sinai Desert. Now, I'm going to have to tell you a little story, and I'm going to give credit to the people who helped us. But back in May of last year, when I went to Utah, I said, God, the next place I want to go to is Mount Sinai. And so I had the opportunity to kind of go there in June, but the timing just wasn't right. And the weather was really, really hot. And because that area is very desert, it's very, very hot and you need to take plenty of water. So God worked everything out that I was able to go in October. And so my sister met up with me. I picked her up at the airport and we drove out to Big Water in Utah. And I had been asking different groups before I left because I like to have everything lined up so I know what I'm doing and I don't want to do anything last minute, But the people that I had asked, if there was anybody who could take us up to Smoky Mountain, which is Mount Sinai, I had asked and everybody laughed at me because there's nothing out there. And I knew where they were coming from, but they had no clue where I was coming from. And so when I got there, we got to our Airbnb and I talked to Adam and he with Liberty, it's Airbnb. Anyway, I had asked him, where to go, and he sent us up to the road, which was about 4 or 5 blocks from the Airbnb, and sent us over to Up Lake Adventures. And he had told me to ask for this one girl while I was up there. So I went up there and asked for this girl, and this guy was helping us, and he said, oh, she's busy right now and stuff. But anyway, finally she came out and she's like, I can't take you up there. I'm too booked. I'm too busy. I had no clue that I was talking to the owner of the company, and his name is Bob. So I told Bob, I said, I have to get up to up to this mountain. And I was very adamant, I have to get up there. And I said, I don't care if I take a helicopter, I don't care if I take an ATV or whatever, but I have to get up there. And after a while, he looked at me and he says, I can see that this is very important to you. And so he's like, did you have a death in the family and you have to scatter ashes or something? And I said, no. I said, this mountain is the true biblical location of Mount Sinai. And that desert out there, I said, is just full of thorns, thorn bushes, and rocks. And he looked at me and he said, that's exactly what it looks like. I said, I have to get up there. So he called a friend of his in Page that has a helicopter. And he got a hold of him and he said he could take us up the next day. But he said it was going to be about $2,000. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that. So he hung up with him. And then he said he had one of his guys there, and his name is Michael. And so he talked to Michael, and Michael's like, well, I could take him the next day, which was Sunday, and I was planning on going on a Saturday. But he says, I can take my sister and I on Sunday, but it'll probably be about 1 o'clock. I said, that's not going to work. I have a 2-hour drive back, and I have to have my sister at the airport by 5 o'clock. And Bob and Michael said that it was probably a 5-hour round trip to go up to Smoky Mountain. And so anyway, I talked to him, and they told me that it was going to be a certain amount. And I said, I can't do that. So then they asked me, can you do this amount? And I said, I can do that. So God just worked it all out there. And so the next morning they said, can you be here at 7 o'clock in the morning? I'm like, I'll be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. So my sister and I got there at 7 o'clock in the morning. We got everything ready and we took off. And it had rained all the night before. And you're not supposed to be able to go out to that desert um, um, for at least 2 days after it rains, because it's mud, it's bentonite clay, which is the kind you use to get facials and stuff, but it's very thick, and then in some locations it turns into like quicksand, and it's just a muddy mess. And so but we got there, and it had rained the whole for days before, and it rained the night before. And I said, God, I said, I don't care if how you get me up there. I don't care if you blow it dry, just like you parted the Red Sea for the Israelites. I know that you're gonna get us up there. And I went to sleep, didn't worry about it. So next morning we got there at 7 o'clock in the morning. We took off, and it was like about a 5-hour round trip. And we had so much mud. We were covered with mud and everything. Anyway, so the Bible also says that the Israelites went through several different types of deserts. So I was also trying to figure out where the Paran Desert was. Well, we were driving, and there was nothing out there but thistles, thorns, cactuses, and rocks, and of course the mud. And that was it. There's nothing else out there. It's one of the most desolate places in America. And so we finally got to the top of this one mountain, and when we topped it, all of a sudden the whole scenery changed. It was beautiful, full of vegetation and trees and everything. And I knew that that was the Paran Desert. And so anyway, we end up going, and we finally got to Mount Sinai. And I got out of their ATV, and just as we got there, the sun was just about to peek over the rocks, and we got these beautiful pictures, and then we videotaped it coming up, and then just come up, and then just shined right over us, and it looks like rainbows, and it was so cool. I climbed almost to the top of the mountain, but I didn't make it all the way up to the top because of the clay, and it was sticking to my feet really bad, and it rained, and I was just so happy to be on God's mountain, Mount Sinai. But one of the things that I did want to do is get to the top, because in the top there's smoke coming out the top. And in let's see, I don't remember, is it Deuteronomy, Exodus, I can't remember right off the bat, but where it talks about when Aaron and Moses and Aaron's two sons, and here it is right here, Exodus 24, let's see, Exodus 24 9 and 10. It says, Moses and Aaron, together with Nadab and Abihu, the two sons, and the 70 leaders, went up the mountain and saw God of Israel. Under God's feet, under his feet, was something that looked like a pavement made out of sapphire, and it was bright as the sky. And it talks about the smoke coming up. Well, this mountain continuously has smoke coming out of it, and the government has tried to put it out many times, but it won't go out. Just a couple weeks ago, so I didn't get to see it when I was there, but down below you can see it has smoke that comes out, which all of a sudden Moses saw the burning bush. Totally makes sense, because you see that this mountain has smoke continuously coming out of it, and the bush would have been right there in the mountain. And so a couple weeks ago I got a hold of Michael, and he said that he took a group from his church up there, and he got videos of this, and it's dark, smoke coming up, and you can see the crystals that look like sapphires. They're a blue color. And so it's just as the Bible describes it to be. So and there's several areas up there where the smoke is coming out and stuff. So I will attach that. It's just a couple seconds video that he sent to me, and I will attach that on here. But I want to share with you just about a couple minutes Because I videotaped most of the whole thing for 5 hours, so I'm not going to share that all on here. But I'm going to share a couple little videos, short videos here and there, where you can see the desert. There's nothing out there but thorns, thorn bushes, and rocks. And then when we went up on Mount Sinai, all there is rocks, thorns, and thorn bushes. And so, and then I will also share the one portion of the video where we topped the mountain and the whole scenery changed. So, I will put a couple of the scriptures where these things are found. And I think that's all I have for right now. So I will see you in the next video.
should be the end of our really muddy, nasty stuff now.
Yeah.
At least on the way up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you can see why the Bible called it a horrible place, a horrible Sinai desert, because there's nothing out here, and when it rains, a lot of the times in places it turns into quicksand. And it rained last night, and it's the favor of God that we were able to come out here today, because it usually takes 2 days for it to dry up. I think we need to get you a squeegee.
Would you like a mud facial?
No, I'm good.
I'm already getting one. Trying to make sure it's not covering I have to block my face. But, oh, look at this.
Oh my gosh.
That's a bridge.
Yeah.
And it's stuck.
Yep.
My phone is covered.
Yep. I know. I was trying to get as much footage as I can, but trying to keep it clean too. Oh my gosh. Yep.
Check it out. You can see those crystals.